think all of you are here. Can I just give it to you straight today? Would that be all right? I'm here because our country is in serious trouble. You agree with that? Our beautiful country, our great country, the greatest country in the history of the world, the radical left is trying to destroy. Isn't that right? They have brought us to a point of crisis in this country. As we stand here right now, our southern border is wide open. Probably in the time that we're talking here, in the next few minutes, who knows how many hundreds of illegal aliens will cross that border? Who knows how many thousands will cross today? Here's what we do know. In the last 3 years, just 3 years, 10, 12, 15 million illegals have come across that border. They're bringing their drugs across. They're bringing weapons across. They're bringing crimes across. Right here in our state, we've had multiple people stabbed. We've had a young man from this area mowed down by an illegal alien. We've had stabbings. We've had homicides. We've had carjackings. We've had thefts, all from illegals. And now the leading cause of death in the state of Missouri for every person 18 years and older is fentanyl. Do you know where it's coming? Across the southern border. Across the southern border. Methamphetamine. You can't go anywhere in this state. You can't go anywhere and not find meth everywhere. Do you know where it's coming? All across the southern border. It is an absolute crisis. It is an absolute travesty. Every sovereign country in the history of the world has had a sovereign border except for this one because of the radical left. You know, it's worse than that, though. They're trying to teach our kids that this country is racist, that it's evil, that it's oppressive, and they're doing it using your money. In our own schools that you pay for, they're trying to teach this stuff to our kids. Have you heard that line that the United States was founded in 1619? Have you seen this? Yeah, that they're trying to push. They got curriculum they're trying to push into our schools. We were founded in 1619 when the slave trade started, is what they say. I've got news for these people. America wasn't founded in 1619. We were founded in 1776. We weren't founded as a nation of oppressors. We are a nation of liberators. We are proud of that. We will stand for that truth, and we won't be told that there's something wrong with this country. They're trying to make America poor and China rich. Have you noticed that? They want to shut down our jobs in this country and give them to China. They want to shut down our energy in this country and make us buy it from China. They want us to buy solar panels that are made with slave labor in China. They want us to buy wind turbines that are made with slave labor in China. They want us to buy electric vehicles and batteries made with slave labor in China. And meanwhile, they want China to own our farmland. Is there something wrong with that? They're trying to destroy this country. Everywhere you look, they're trying to destroy it. And let's just be honest about who is responsible for this crisis that we're in. I mean, let's just tell the truth. It is people like my opponent in this race, Lucas Kunce, and his allies, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, right? Nancy Pelosi, Obama. Those are the people who are responsible for where we are. Now, let me just say a word or two about my opponent, Lucas Kunce. You may not know him very well, but we're going to get to know him. You know, Lucas Kunce, he doesn't spend a whole lot of time around here. You know, he's been running for office for 20 years. He's a young guy, too. He started running for office when he was 22, 23, 24 years old. He's run for office for 20 years straight. He spends most of his time these days in Washington, D.C. In fact, he said the other day to a newspaper reporter, he said, "I live in D.C. where I get to go to fancy parties and stuff." That was a quote. My advice is just stay in D.C. Don't come here and trouble us, because his policies, his ideas are the nuttiest ideas of anybody to run for the Senate in the state of Missouri in our history. And let me just tell you what they are. Here, you help me out now. As I tell you what his policies are, and I'm just going to give it to you straight. As I tell you what they are, you tell me whether you agree or not. How about that? You tell me whether you think they're good or not. All right, here we go. Lucas Kunce says that we ought to eliminate all gas, diesel, oil from our economy 100%. Would that be good for you? He's running on a platform to ban gas and diesel pickup trucks in the state of Missouri and nationwide. Would that be good for you? No. Anybody drive a pickup truck here today? I see a whole lot of them out here. Anybody drive a tractor? Anybody drive a combine? Hey, do we have any farmers here today? Just a few, I bet. Oh, yes. Amazing. Hey, thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for feeding this state. Thank you for feeding this nation. Thank you for feeding the world. That's what you do. But I just have a suspicion. I have a hunch. You're going to find it hard to feed this state, to feed this nation, to feed the world if you can't get into your combines and harvest our crops. You're going to find it hard if you can't get in and turn on your pickup truck and drive to work every day. Lucas Kuntz says he's for the working man. I got a news bulletin for him. You can't be for working people when you want to take away their trucks. You can't be for working people when you want to leave our farmers stranded out in the field. You can't be for working people when you want to take away their food. Isn't that right? So that's what Kuntz wants. He wants you, if you've got a pickup truck, if you've got a tractor, if you've got a trailer, you may as well just give him your keys right now because that's what he wants. He's got his hand out. Give me the keys. We'll get rid of all fossil fuel. Give me the keys. We'll shut down oil and natural gas in this country. What would that do? I tell you what, you want to make China rich. That's the way to do it. You want to bankrupt this country. That's the way to do it. If you think China owns too much stuff now in the United States of America, wait till Kuntz gets his way. And I would say that this is just all pie in the sky. We could just laugh at it. But the fact is, Kuntz and his friends have been doing it for years. For 3 years now. What did Joe Biden do the minute he came into office? He shut down American energy production. First thing he did, he signed 60 different executive orders. He shut down all of our pipelines. He shut down all of our oil. He caused all of the energy prices to skyrocket, and now we can barely afford to plant. We can barely afford to harvest. We can barely afford to buy gas. We can barely afford to buy groceries because of the policies of Kuntz and his allies. Do you want more of that? No. Would that be good for your family? No. Would that be good for this state? No. Would that be good for this country? I tell you what, it is totally nuts, but it's Kuntz. Now I'm just getting started. There's a lot more. Listen to this. The border. Lucas Kuntz says that a border wall is racist, that a border wall is wrong. He wants the border wide open. He wants to tear down the wall that we have. He wants to prevent us from building any more, and he wants to roll out the red carpet for illegal migrants. Is that a good idea? No. Do you support that? Would that be good for Southeast Missouri? No. Would that be good for the United States of America? No, it's absolutely nuts, but it gets worse. Lucas Kuntz wants to give every illegal migrant in this state and in this country amnesty. Amnesty. Imagine this. 3 years, 15 million people across that border. He wants to give every single one of them amnesty. Do you know who he wants to pay for it? Us. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Do you support that? No. Would that be good for you? No. Would that make our streets safer? No. Would that make our kids safer? No. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. I tell you what, Lucas Kuntz not only wants to let the immigrants in, he not only wants to give them amnesty, he wants you to pay for their health care. Yes, he wants you to pay for it with your tax dollars. He wants you to give them gold-plated health care. Now, I don't know, but I'm just here to bet you're already paying too much for your health care. Is that right? You're already paying too much for your prescriptions. Is that right? And now he wants you to pay for theirs. Do you want to do that? Can you afford to do that? Would that be good for this country? I tell you what, it's nuts, but it's Kuntz. All right, now help me out here. When I say it's nuts, you say it's Kuntz. How about that? Can we do that? All right, here, let's try it again. It's nuts, but it's nuts, but it's, yeah, it is. It is. And it gets worse. I got another one for you. Do we have any members here of law enforcement, former law enforcement? Folks, yes, sir, right here. We've got some law enforcement around the side. Can we just give them a round of applause for what they've done for us? Do we have any veterans who are here today? Oh, yeah, all over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what Lucas Kuntz says. He says if you're a cop, you wear that badge, you go out and put your life on the line, if you go and run toward the criminals to protect us, if you go stand in the way between the bad guys and us, if you go take the bullets for us, if you do all those things, you would think you ought to get some respect. You would think you ought to get some support. But here's what Kuntz says. Kuntz says the criminals ought to be able to sue the cops. Oh, 100%. That's what he says. The criminals ought to be able to sue the cops. He wants to take away the legal protections we give to cops because you and I both know that badge says more than just the fact that the person wearing it has legal authority, though it does say that. That badge means that we support them. Isn't that right? That badge says if you attack a cop, you attack all of us. That badge says if you go after a cop, you come after all of us. Amen? Yeah, but what Coots says is if you wear the badge, you're a target. If you wear the badge, the criminals ought to be able to come after you and sue you personally if you're too mean to them. Now, how about that? Can you imagine? The criminals don't like the fact that they got handcuffed a little too tight. They can sue the cops. The criminals don't like how they got put in the back of the squad car. They can sue the cops. The criminals don't like the way that the cops talk to them, so they can sue the cops. I mean, would that make your family safer? Would that make our streets safer? No. Is there anything good about that idea? No. It's nuts. I tell you what, it gets even worse. It gets even worse. He has said that defunding the police would be progress. Oh, I know it. He has said, oh, it's progress. It's progress. Progress for who? For the criminals, 100%. They love it. Pretty soon we're going to see signs all over the state, criminals for Kuntz. You know? He ought to just run on it. There, I just gave him his new slogan, criminals for Kuntz. You're welcome. No charge. No charge, Lucas, if you're watching this. That ought to be what he puts all over because that is his platform. Do you support that? No. Can you get behind that? No. Would that be good for your family? No. It's nuts, but it's, yeah, it's nuts, but it's, I'll give you one more. Our kids. I told you about my kids, my boys, 11 and 9, and my baby girl who's 3. You know, I want my daughter, my sweet baby girl, I want her to be able to grow up and be able to play sports, be able to develop those leadership skills, be able to go to school and go into a locker room at her school and not have some creepy weirdo follow her in there, some guy who thinks he's a girl and follow her around. Do you feel that way about your daughters? You feel that way about your wives, man? You feel that way about your granddaughters and your nieces? Yeah, well, Lucas Kuntz wants men in women's sports. He wants men in women's locker rooms. He has said that Missouri's laws that try to protect women in locker rooms, that try to protect women in women's sports are not only wrong, he has said, and I quote, those laws will cause a body count. Body count. What's he doing? Is he threatening violence? That's what he says about common sense laws to protect our girls. Anybody see that boxer at the Olympics? Yeah, the man. I mean, he's a man, right? XY. I mean, he was a biological male just pounding the heck out of those women. That will be every woman's sport in the state of Missouri. Your girls, my little girl, won't be able to play sports. Worse than that, they won't be able to go into a locker room and not have some guy there. Kuntz wants every church and school in this state to have to open up their bathrooms to men who want to go into the women's bathroom. How'd you like to have that on a Sunday morning? You know, your wife wants to use the restroom, your daughter, and you got to worry about who's going in there. And if your church says, whoa, that we're not going to do that, he would use the force of law against them. That's what he wants. That's what he's campaigned on. You know, in the Senate, I have the opportunity from time to time to ask a few questions. And I will say I do enjoy asking them. Somebody has to. Somebody's got to hold these people accountable. Well, now I had one a few months ago in the Senate, a hearing, and it was on women's rights. The hearing was on women's rights. Now, you would think that if we're going to have a hearing about women's rights, maybe we talk about the right of women to play sports without men, the right of women to be safe at school, at church, right? You'd think, but no, that wasn't what this hearing is about. We had at this hearing a witness called by the Democrats, woman, very intelligent, had a PhD in the whole 9 yards. She was from California, of course. The University of California at Berkeley, if memory serves. Yeah, my opponent fit right in there. So she's there, and I noticed something. Over the course of this hearing, I noticed, it's a hearing on women's rights now, she would never say the word woman. I was listening, and she kept saying, people with a capacity for pregnancy. Think about that for a second. People with a capacity for pregnancy. I wrote it down finally on a pad. and I wrote underneath it the word woman, and I started keeping a tally. How many times did she say woman at this hearing on women's rights, and how many times did she say this other, people with the capacity for pregnancy? Finally got to be my turn. And she must have said people with a capacity for pregnancy 20 times. She'd said woman 0 times. So I asked her. I just said, listen, I was going to ask her something else too, by the way, but I couldn't help it. I said, listen, I am just very confused. When you say, ma'am, people with a capacity for pregnancy, do you mean women? And I mean, she looked at me. She drew herself up. And my mother was a school teacher, so I know the look. You know, I mean, she drew herself up, raised herself up to her full height, sat up in her chair, and I thought, she's going to use my full name will be the next thing, you know. I half expect her to say, Joshua David, you know. So she says to me, Senator Hawley, I would just like to point out the transphobic nature of your question. And I said, I'm not sure I know what that means, but I'm pretty sure she's calling me a bigot. I got that part. So I said, wait a minute. Are you calling me a bigot because I asked you if women can get pregnant? She says to me, can I ask you a question? I said, sure, go ahead. And she said, do you think men can get pregnant? For a second, I thought she was kidding. Then I realized she's completely serious. So I looked at her and I said, no, I don't think men can get pregnant. And she said, see, you're transphobic. And I said, see, you're insane. This is nuts. It's nuts. The whole thing is nuts. There are not 200 genders. There are not 2,000 genders. There are 2, male and female. It's good to be a man. It's good to be a woman. The way God made you is good. I don't know about you. I don't want somebody telling my little girl when she goes to school there's something wrong with her. I don't want them telling her, you know what, you really ought to be a boy. I don't want them telling my boys, you really ought to be a girl. My message is to Kuntz and his friends, keep your hands off our kids. Keep your hands off out of our locker rooms. Keep them away. Amen. Thank you. I tell you what, it should not be hard, but these people are doing it. This isn't just a theory. They're doing it. Kuntz and his allies, his friends, Biden and Harris and Pelosi and the rest, they are doing this all over this country. They are putting men into women's locker rooms. They're putting men into women's sports. They are destroying it. We have got to put a stop to it. My message is not in the state of Missouri and not in the United States on my watch. No way. Allowing men into women's sports is nuts. It is nuts. But it's nuts. But that's Kuntz. Oh, it's Kuntz. He is a little weird. He really is. He is. So I tell you what, given all of this, by the way, I could go on and on and on. This is just a sample of what he wants to do. A sample of what he wants to do. You know, he supported a huge tax cut, $275 billion in tax cuts for the richest people in America who live on the coast. $275 billion in money for the wealthiest people who live on the coast, New York, Massachusetts, when he wants to raise your taxes on your gas, on your diesel, on your tractors, on your combines. I mean, it's insane. It's nuts, but we can just go on all day. But I tell you this, here's the deal. Given his nutty positions, I have done him a great favor, an immense favor. Last Tuesday, he won his nomination, the Democrat nomination. And as soon as he did, 60 seconds after they called it for him, I put out a statement. I issued him an invitation. I said, Lucas, congratulations, welcome to the race, and welcome to Missouri, by the way. You know, you ought to get out a little bit more. I don't know where he is, by the way. Kuntz, he won his nomination a week ago. I haven't seen him anywhere. He's in the basement somewhere. He loves Twitter. He's a Twitter gladiator. You know, one of those guys is on his keyboard. He ought to come out. He ought to get out here. Come to a farm, Lucas. You know, come see Missouri. It's a great place. You should visit from time to time. So I've given him an opportunity. I issued him an invitation. I said, how about this? How about this week, this Thursday, at the State Fair in Sedalia, Missouri, we get together, you and me, Lucas, one-on-one, and we debate. How about that? He can defend his nutty positions in front of everybody. I said, come on out. We'll do it Lincoln Douglas style. No moderators, no filters, no fancy studio, just the two of us standing on a trailer, taking questions from the audience and answering to the people. How about that? You think that's a good idea? Yeah. I thought it was a great idea. And again, given his positions, you'd think he would leap at the opportunity to defend himself. Do you know what he said to me? Do you think he said yes?
No, thanks.
He said no. He said, no, we need to do it in a studio. I need a studio. And then he said, well, I have to have a moderator. I have to have a moderator. Now, Missouri Farm Bureau, and I see their tents right here. Missouri Farm Bureau said, we will host the debate at the fair. We will host it. Do you know what he said? He said, oh, Missouri Farm Bureau. Oh, man, I can't do that. No. They're a partisan organization. They're no good. I can't go. I wouldn't go to a debate with Missouri Farm Bureau. I was like, farming is Missouri's #1 industry. If you can't take questions from farmers, you're running in the wrong state. If you can't take questions from farmers, you better go back to D.C. right now. So I just say this to Koontz. If you're watching, Koontz, quit insulting Missouri's farmers. Quit running down the Farm Bureau. Get out from behind your keyboard. It's going to be okay. Put the keyboard down. Come to Sedalia. Face the people, and let's debate. Let's do it. No more excuses. Let's debate one-on-one. We'll stand up there and answer the questions. Well, I'll give you this. I will be there on Thursday in Sedalia. I don't know where he'll be. I don't know what he'll be doing. I don't know. But I will be there. And Missouri Farm Bureau will be there. And I'll be ready to take the questions and answer the questions, and I'll be ready to expose his record for what it is. And if he has any sense, he'll come and defend it and try to tell us about all this craziness, because that's what it is. It's nonsense. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts. But it's Koontz. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this. You know, I think sometimes in this time that we're living in, when they are doing so much to take our country from us, you know, they're taking our right to speak from us. They're taking our right to worship. They're trying to take our right to raise our children as we see fit. They're trying to take away our farms. They're trying to take away our ranches. They're trying to take away our independence and our Second Amendment. At a time when they are trying to take all of these things from us, I think it can be easy sometimes to feel discouraged. I don't know if you ever feel that way, but I do. It can be easy to feel discouraged. And it is true that this time that we live in is not a quiet time. You know, whatever you say to your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids, Lord willing, in 20, 30, 40 years from now, whatever you say about this time in American history, you will not say, oh, it was easy. It was quiet. There was nothing happening. You won't say that. What you will say is, because it's the truth, this was a time of consequence. This was a time that mattered. This was a time when our country needed us. And I just say this. What a privilege it is to live in a time that matters. Amen? What a privilege it is to be able, at this moment in our country's history, when the choices we make determine the future of America for the next 30 and 40 years, when the choices we make determine whether we have an America in 30 and 40 years, what a privilege it is to live in this time. Do you agree with me? What a privilege it is to stand now for our country in its hour of need. And I would just say to you, our country needs us now. It's not a quiet time. It's not an easy time, but by golly, it is a time that matters. It's a time when we can stand up, and I want to be able to say to my kids, in this hour, in this moment, in this time of need, I did everything we could. We did everything we could, and we saved this country. That's what I want to say. That's what we're here to do. That's what this campaign is about. It's not about sending somebody to Washington, D.C. It is not. It is not about doing this or that in Washington. I've been in Washington for the last few years, and I can tell you, as if it's not clear already, solutions do not come out of Washington, D.C. Problems come out of Washington, D.C. The solutions for this country are right here. The future of this country begins right here. The salvation of this country is from the faith and the decency and the character that's right here. That's why this campaign isn't a campaign, it's a mission. And the mission is to save the United States of America. So, let me leave you with this. I mentioned that my mother was a school teacher once upon a time. She was also a great singer. She loved to sing. She still sings. And I grew up, she'd sing in church, she sang in the choir, and she loved to sing. And most of the hymns that I know, in fact, maybe just about all of them, I first heard from my mother because she'd sing them around the house. Maybe you all have moms, grandmothers like that. And just recently, I haven't heard this hymn in years. And just this year, in recent months, it's come back to me, and I remember my mother singing it. And I don't recall the title of it. Maybe somebody here will know it. but I remember just some of the passages that Mom would sing. And one of them goes like this: God of love and God of power, you have called us to this hour. Boy, that's what I believe about you and me. We're called to this hour. We're called to this moment. And the hymn ends this way: God of love and God of power, make us worthy of this hour. Make us worthy to stand for our country. Make us worthy to save our country. Make us worthy to save the United States of America. God bless you. Thank you for being here. God bless the great state of Missouri, and God bless the United States of America.